Hi guys, West Country Explorer here. Now, Boxing Day last year, so almost a whole year ago, I did a ghost walk around Shaftesbury, following the ghost walk in this book. Now, today I'm going to be doing another one. It's a 6-mile walk starting in Tarrant, Gunville. You can see Tarrant Gunville Church behind me. So, like I said, it's a 6-mile sort of circular walk going through the countryside, including a little village called Chattel. Well, I think it's more of a hamlet than a village, but then then finishing back here in Tarrant Gunville. So yeah, if I'm going to do a video and all the rest. So now this particular walk, there's only 2 ghosts mentioned in this book on the walk. There might be other ghosts around, don't know. But so anyway, yes, 6-mile walk through the countryside, and I'll be talking about the 2 ghosts that are mentioned in this book. Well guys, hope you enjoy. I will be finishing the walk back up here at the church, but I just thought I'd do a little panoramic view of it now, of the churchyard. Now obviously quite a while ago, I think it was summer last year, I did a video on all the Tarrants villages starting at Tarrant Gunville. So what I'll do guys, that video, I'll put the link to that video in the description for this one if you haven't seen it already. A little video on all the different Tarrants. But anyway, let's start walking. Right, here we are at the main road through Tarrant Gunville. So it's a bit of a stretched out little village. This village, along with all the other Tarrant villages, take their name from the River Tarrant that they all sort of run along. Right, see, there's the sort of little map of the walk in the book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to see if this book is still available to buy online. Might be able to buy it on Amazon or something like that, and if I can find it available online, what I'll do is I'll put a link to it in the description. So if any of you guys want to buy the book for yourself and sort of follow the walks for yourself, you can do so. Oh man, another one. There we go. A few little cars going through, vehicles and all the rest. A little bit busier than I thought it might be. Right, so we've just come north out of Tarrant Gunville, just into Stubhampton, which is like the adjacent little village. And what we're going to do is didn't quite get that sign. Bussy Stool, that's what I'm trying to show you. Signpost for Bussy Stool. And this is the road we come up. So that's what you're looking for. If I can get to the right page, if you bear with me guys. Oh, another vehicle coming by. Now I'm following from just the book, because I find these little guidebooks are often pretty good for following. But if you want to follow on a map, You want OS Explorer 118. So I think I've got the OS Explorer 118 at home, pretty sure I have. Didn't bring it with me today, I'm just following the directions from this book. Hopefully the camera's picking it up. Load of bird song coming from the trees. A few minutes ago they were all flying around the trees, landing. I was hoping they'll come out again and I can record them flying around, but it is lovely to hear birds singing away. Being a country person at heart, I can't help but look at that farm down there and think that could potentially be a really idyllic place to live. I reckon it could be good fun to live there, I reckon. Lovely, interesting place. So, bit of a kind of a crossroad here. We're carrying straight on over. So, not so much a road now, more of a trackway. As you come close to the end of the track, sort of come through this gateway, obviously the track does go off up around there to the left. We've got that entrance into that field there, but the footpath we're following is just over here. See, we're coming up to a place with a blue sign on it, blue arrow, and it goes on down there. But first of all, guys, I'm going to twizzle you around because this is the area where we talk about the first ghost encounter. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from the book. So what I'm about to read, full credits go to Rupert Matthews, the author. So I'm just going to read the ghost story from the book, so rather than try and do it from memory. But anyway, so this is Bloody Shard Gate, and back in the late 18th century, a notorious and vicious gang of poachers operated around this area of Dorset known as Cranbourne Chase. And let me get a better hold of the book a second. Right, these were not local farmhands who bagged the odd rabbit or pheasant for their family pot. They were organised violent men who killed and stole large numbers of deer to sell for cash at the London meat markets. They did not care who got hurt or what injuries they inflicted, just so long as they got away with prime meat. The gang intimidated locals into silence and beat gamekeepers close to death. It was a bad time, to be honest, in the village of Tarrant, Gunville. Although just about everyone in the area knew that the gang was led by a retired sergeant of dragoons named Blandford from the village of Pimpern, nobody could be found to testify against him and his gang. So the local landowners and gamekeepers came up with a plan. They arranged for a tip-off to be given to the gang that a particularly fine herd of deer were lurking around Farnham Woods. Knowing that the best access was through the gate now known as Bloody Shard, the gamekeepers lay in wait, armed and equipped with leg irons and handcuffs. Right on cue, Sergeant Blandford and his poachers came into sight, dragging a pair of fine deer carcasses behind them. The gamekeepers pounced, determined to rid the area of the gang of poachers once and for all. It was, by all accounts, a vicious fight. One keeper had 3 ribs broken, and a second, famous as the finest boxer in the county, had his leg broken. In the course of the fighting, Sergeant Blandford had his right hand sliced clean off by a gamekeeper's sword. The gang were eventually overpowered and sent to Dorchester for trial, which left the gamekeepers with the problem of what to do with the severed hand. After some discussion, they took it to the vicar at Pimpern and had it buried in the churchyard. The poachers were transported for up to 7 years apiece to the new colony in what is now Australia. Some years later, Blandford returned to England, set up a shop in London, and by all accounts lived a respectable life until his death. And it was then that the ghosts began to walk, or in one case crawl. Both the dead man and his severed hand returned to the scene of the fight where they were separated. The man wanders around the area, head bent to scan the ground. The severed hand drags itself around the ground as if trying to be noticed. To date, the two have not been seen together. Perhaps if the hand finds the man or the man finds the hand, the ghost will vanish forever. So there you go. Apparently, around this area there's a ghostly man looking for his ghostly severed hand. So if you ever see the two together, see if you can pick up the ghostly hand and return it to the ghostly man. Because maybe, if the two are joined together, they can finally rest in peace and stop haunting the area. So there, apparently known as Bloody Shard Gate, this area. Tell you something, looks like quite a nice place for wild camping. I do love woods. Mind you, I just love the countryside in general. I'll tell you so, if I was ever coming through this area in the summertime on a long walk or a long bike ride, and I happen to get to this woods of an evening, I'll definitely wild camp here. Just quietly put my tent up and quietly spend the evening just chilling out with a book, exploring the woods a bit and all that kind of stuff, having a quiet drink and a bit of food before turning into bed in my tent. Oh, so lovely and quiet around here. Such lovely weather today. Much better than it was yesterday. Absolutely torrential, well, not torrential rain, but quite rainy all day yesterday pretty much. And that today nice and dry, blue skies, much better weather. And a nice little lane to walk down as well. It is a good day for a walk. Good day for a walk. Got a nice little seat to sit on here and enjoy the views. Is that a pond or a puddle? All very nice indeed. Just on the outskirts of the little hamlet of Chattel now. I say, some of these buildings are very nice. Wikipedia says it's a small village, but a lot of other sites describe it as a hamlet. Apparently there's only about 90 odd people that live in the parish, so I would say definitely a hamlet. I've just stopped at Chattel Village Store over there. Got myself a Diet Coke and a pan of chocolate. I thought I'll sit down and enjoy it. Oh, just twiddling around. But a lovely little setting to sit down and just enjoy a drink and a snack. Nice little play area for children. This has definitely got a lovely village feel to it, this area. Very nice indeed. Lovely little church. I think we should go and have a look. Oop. There we go. Bit on the nice little small place. Oh, into the sunshine. Over here, nice old manor house over there. If I come over here a bit more, yeah, very nice. So I probably didn't show it very well on the camera. The sunlight's in the wrong direction. Right, let's go inside the church. So much for going inside the church. Unfortunately it's locked, so can't have a look inside, but at least we were able to have a look outside, so that's better than nothing, guys, isn't it? Better than nothing. There's a bit of a side view of Chattel House, the old manor house. Does look nice. I think at one point you used to be able to visit the gardens, but they're not open to public access anymore. But no, it does look a nice house. I've just taken a slight diversion from the walking route, just so I can get a view of the Chattel House from the front. I thought I wanted to do that, just so you can see how magnificent it is. Yeah, I'm currently on a bridle way. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Coming along this bit of the walk, there's certainly no danger of not knowing where to go, because you've got these little sort of wire fence things to keep us on the path, keep us away from straying onto the private property of Chattel House. It's a rich person's way of letting us peasants know that we're not allowed on his land. So he's got all this land to enjoy for himself, and us peasants have got to stay on this little bit, this little pathway that he's been ever so grateful to let us walk along. So I'm back at Tarrant, Gunville, on the edge of the village, and here I am at the gates to Eastbury House, which is the location of the second ghost. So what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm going to read what Rupert Matthews has written in his book. So all credit goes to him for what I'm just about to read. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to sit down on this wall to do the reading and hopefully angle the camera so I keep the top of my head in. So anyway, yes, Eastbury House. The house was begun by the fabulous, wealthy and aristocratic George Doddington in 1718. Just 2 years later, however, Doddington died childless and left his vast wealth to a remote relative named George Bull. This son of a Weymouth shopkeeper was just 29 years old. Just turn the page over. Right, sorry about that. The sudden wealth seems to have gone to his head. He moved into a cottage in the grounds of Eastbury and at once decided that his benefactor's plans were not grand enough. Young George, who had now changed his name to Doddington, employed the most prestigious architect of his day, Vanberg, to complete the house in the grandest style possible. Only Blenheim and Castle Howard were to be larger. Young George wanted to outdo even the King of England. The house cost a staggering £140,000 at a time when most workers would earn only a few pounds each year. But even this grand house was not enough for George Bub Doddington. Now first and after a career in public life, he bought himself a rotten seat in Parliament, such things being possible before the Great Reform Act of 1832. For years Doddington threw himself into London life and national politics, but he still used his grand mansion for weekend parties of glittering sophistication. What Doddington did not know was that his estate manager, William Doggett, was not only spectacularly clever, but was also spectacularly dishonest. While Doddington was in London, Doggett was systematically siphoning off his wealth. Because Doddington always sent word in advance when he was coming down from London with friends, Doggett had time to complete the books fraudulently to make everything appear in order. Then, one fateful day in the late 1740s, Doddington came home unannounced. The evidence of Doggett's misdeeds were clear to see. Doggett shot himself. The financial damage done to the estate was immense. Some years later, much of the house had to be taken down as his upkeep was no longer possible. The house as it stands today is but a shadow of its former glory. A few weeks after he killed himself, Doggett returned in spectral form and shot himself again. Then his phantom walked calmly down to the magnificent gates. There the ghost stood waiting. In time, a black coach came up the lane from the south and pulled up in front of the waiting figure. The ghost climbed on board the coach and closed the door behind him. At that moment, the coachman threw back his cloak to reveal his pointed tail, cloven hooves and horned head. Laughing maniacally, the devil whipped the horses into a frenzy and galloped off with his new prize. On occasional nights ever since, the ghost of Doggett has been seen lurking around by the gates. He wears fashionable clothes from the mid-18th century, and his knee breeches are tied up with yellow silk ribbons. For some reason, more than one witness has mentioned the yellow ribbons. Perhaps they are noticeable in the pale moonlight in which the ghost is most often seen. Those who see the ghost of Doggett by the gates tend not to linger to watch. Nobody wants to meet the devil in his coach of doom. Yeah, so this is apparently where the ghost of William Doggett is collected by the devil in a sort of horse-drawn carriage. Oh. Now, in some versions of the story, William Doggett is reported to be a vampire, and he's like, I think his vampiric form has been seen about. So yes, as we see, we're coming into Tarrant, Gunville from the south end. It's quite a nice little village. Now, William Doggett was apparently buried in the churchyard, which was a bit unusual, well, highly unusual to my mind, because back in those days, suicide was considered to be a sin. So people who committed suicide, they were normally buried in unconsecrated ground, not in churchyards, due to the fact that they committed what was perceived to be a sin. So the fact that William Doggett, a man who'd committed suicide by shooting himself, was buried in a churchyard, that was a very unusual thing to happen. I think it was during the 19th century, when there was restoration works being done on the church. I think there was alterations being made to the porch entrance area, and the floor was dug up, and William Doggett's body was found. I think that's where he'd been buried. And when his body was unearthed, apparently, according to the stories, it was discovered to be hadn't decomposed. Hence the reason why stories arose about him being a vampire. Yeah, so it's a story that's kind of intrigued me, the whole William Doggett thing. This man, how did these stories come about, get attached to him and all the rest? So it's something I'd like to look into more, try and find some facts behind the stories, see if I can discover. I'd like to discover why he was buried in the churchyard, because like I said, for a person who'd commit suicide to be buried in a church in those days, highly unusual, so why was he an exception? I'd like to find that out. But anyway, guys, that was just that was a very enjoyable 6 mile walk for me, through the countryside and all the rest. Hope you've enjoyed, guys. Feel free to comment, let me know what you thought of it and all the rest. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will hopefully be within the next week or so. And in the meantime, guys, stay safe, take care, God bless. And if I don't do a video beforehand, which I possibly won't, happy Christmas, everybody. Hope you all have a lovely time in whatever way you're celebrating. I hope it's a good one for you guys. Hope it's a good one.